Hello everyone, hope you all fine. This is Ashutosh from Prodigy IAS, and today will be our next in series of the lectures which will try to cover your entire syllabus of public administration in terms of understanding. So today's portion is dedicated to significance. We have talked about meaning and definition of public administration. So today we will start with significance. There is a lot of confusion among students regarding significance and nature. Right? So we will try to cover both of these aspects, that how we can distinguish between them. A very minor difference is there, subtle difference is there. Significance of government has always been there since the traditional times. So significance, if I understand in the terms of value, the importance of the government and its administration, that is since time immemorial. The government has monopoly over various services. In fact, government's role in the society is the primary actor, or is that of the primary or central player in providing various services, various utilities. In fact, government has always acted like a guardian to the society. So significance lies in the very fact as the role of the government, right? In fact, monopolizer or government's monopoly over various functions and services. Its significance also arises out of the legitimacy. Okay, that means the government has the power to do things. The government has been accepted by the people to perform various functions. So the authority of the government cannot be questioned. That is the idea. So legitimacy basically focuses on the authority of the government. And this authority is duly accepted by all. See? So significance somewhere establishes the importance of the government and its legitimacy, its acceptance by everyone in the society. In fact, it is like omnipresent, it is everywhere. No one can deny the influence of the government on every sphere of their lives. Like famous saying or famous quotation that talks about womb to tomb, role of government or significance of administration from womb to tomb. That is, you are born and when you die, in every sphere of your life and even after your life, there is government. Your death certificate is to be signed by an administrator, your birth certificate has to be signed by an administrator, and in fact throughout this birth and death, throughout this cycle, most of the activities that you perform require an authentication of the government. So significance cannot be ruled out. It is so influential, it is so entrenched in our lives that it is become the primary player, right? Significance. So significance broadly means importance, role, dominance in our lives. Now, nature. So nature and significance are generally treated similarly, but you can understand nature is more about two aspects. One, what exactly is the perception of administration by the people, by the society, how society views administration, how society feels about administration, right? They respect the administration, they fear administration, they trust administration, they despise administration. What exactly is the nature of relationship between the society and the administration, right? Other aspect talks about the study of administration. What is the nature of this study? Is this study scientific in nature? Is this study more emotional or value based in nature. That means what do we exactly or how do we study this public administration? Has it got a scientific basis of understanding or it is more subjective basis of understanding? Let's say for example, if we talk about the government's role in or administration's role in policy implementation. So, I can say, is there a science of policy implementation? Do we have a well defined method of implementing the policy in an effective and efficient manner? Or implementation of policy to a large extent depends upon the day to day circumstances of the society. So, let us say something like the function or activity of the administration, the study or the content of the administration, how this study or how this content has emerged. What exactly is the basis of this knowledge? So, nature of public administration will help you understand that what exactly is the study and how this study will be conducted. What aspects of the administration or what aspects of the functioning of administration do we study, right, and how we are going to conduct this study, right. So, let us talk about this nature. Now, when we go to academically studying public administration, when we study it from a theoretical perspective, for example, you are a scholar, you are a professor of public administration, or you are an academician who wants to study public administration. So, what exactly will you study and how will you start studying it? So, one aspect of nature would be that is it scientific, right, or non-scientific. Right. Now, if I want to use the term from public administration, let us say, will it be visible? Okay, leave it. So, if I say I am using the term of public administration, scientific, non-scientific, right. Let us see if it works. So, is it visible? Right. Okay. So, if I use the word or terminology or the vocabulary of public administration, then the word scientific generally is used with respect to positivism. So, is the nature of public administration positivist, that is scientific? Do we have a fixed understanding of things? Do we have a simple cause and effect relationship? Can we establish that this will happen if this will happen? See, this is very interesting idea, that can we establish a cause, right, and effect relationship, positivism. And if we cannot establish that this will happen if this will happen, that means is there an already defined relationship between certain things that we are studying in public administration. For example, if we have a strong law to curb anti-corruption or corruption or to promote anti-corruption in the system, will we have an ethical bureaucrat? Now, see, this is a relationship which we can establish. So, this is one. Or non-scientific, when I use the word, I might use a term normative. Normative is more value based. Value based means it is subjective. So, it will say no, the making of strong anti-corruption laws need not necessarily result in an ethical administrator or ethical administration, because ethical administration is based on the values of a particular public servant. That means it is to a large extent depending upon his personal understanding of the law, which is illogical to an extent, right. So, the nature, one aspect of the nature is to understand whether the study of administration is scientific, objective, positivist, or non-scientific, normative, value based, subjective, right? This is one aspect. The second aspect of nature, right? We also use a term or comparison in nature, right? Broad versus narrow, right? So, is the study or is the functioning of administration can be understood from a broad perspective? Has it got a broad nature or it has got a narrow nature? What does broad and narrow mean? If you go back to our previous discussion, you will find in the previous video, we said that administration is part of the state, right? It is part of the state, okay? So, state has executive, legislature and judiciary, three organs. Now, administration works under executive, public administration. So, executive is what we call government, fine. So, public administration works under the government, the Prime Minister, Council of Minister or ministries and departments, public administration, right. It is a very complex system comprising of so many officials working in so many departments and organizations, right. So, your narrow view says that public administration is only involved in implementation of policy made by the government. It has no other role, it has no relationship with these two organs except only the government. That means a bureaucrat or a civil servant is directly working under the government and getting orders from the ministers and working for the implementation of the policy, and they have no other role. They don't have a relationship with legislature and judiciary. That is the narrow perspective. So, see, if you understand the nature of administration as narrow, you are actually saying that administration is just a system which is working under the executive, that is the government. It has nothing to do with legislature and judiciary, and that is also correct to a large extent, because civil servants and bureaucrats, they get their instructions from the ministers and political masters. They are accountable and responsible to them and not to the judiciary or legislature. But the broad view says that no, public administration is a system which not only gets instructions and orders from the executive, but somewhere also has a relationship with legislature as well as judiciary. Now, how can we understand this broad view or broad nature of public administration? So, when you think of organization, public administration or the system of public administration, you will realize that today it is not just the government's control over administration, but also in many areas, in many ways, the legislature is also influencing the administration. For example, right, the auditing which is done by the CAG. So, Controller and Auditor General of India is there, right, Article 148 of the Constitution, and they do audit. Audit of what? The money that has been spent by the government and administration. So, they do audit and they submit this report to the legislature, the committee of the parliament known as Parliamentary Accounts Committee. For example, in India, right? Let us take a simple example which helps you understand. So, let us say India. Otherwise, broadly this is happening in many other countries. So, see here, the administration is answerable to the legislature through the audit of the CAG. This is one example. There are so many committees of the parliament that can make the government and the administration directly accountable to themselves. So, see, administration's role and obligation and responsibility is also directed towards the parliament or legislature as well, and not just the minister or the political master. With the growth of judicial review, you know the concept of judicial review, how judiciary can review the laws and the decisions and the actions of the government as well as administration. So, judicial review or concept of public interest litigation, where people can file cases directly in Supreme Court or High Court or lower courts, so that the government can take action in certain areas where it is not acting properly. So citizens can move to the court and file their grievances, or let us say if they have to take initiative regarding something, they can ask the court that kindly direct the government to do certain things. So growth of public interest litigation, judicial review, it has created an obligation on the public administration to respond to the judiciary. Examples like police reform case, the Supreme Court has sought status from many governments, state governments, and they have called the chief secretaries and home secretaries to respond in the court. Related to mining, related to environmental conservation, Supreme Court has created a Supreme Court monitoring committee, and it is monitoring the policies and programs of the government related to environmental protection. So see, in this scenario, now administration also has to respond to the judiciary. So this is a broad versus narrow view. Then there is instrumental versus institutional view, right? Then there is managerial versus integral versus subject matter view. Now there are obviously various aspects of the nature of public administration, but this we will deal in our next video. Thank you so much for watching. Keep writing to us, give us the feedback, and we'll try to cover the entire periphery of the optional of public administration. In fact, areas like governance, your general studies ethics, polity, and so many other areas in such short videos, so that whenever you are in a confusion as to what could be the logic behind this particular topic, what could be the understanding of this topic at I would say at a sub part or at a level of micro structure, you can always refer to these videos. Thank you so much for watching. See you. All the best.